folks. What's happening? I am Tommy Scoville, and you are on the Lifeboat. I am broadcasting from the office of Spanx Calhoun, who I came down to see this morning, and he's working on a project for the boat, and I'm getting to actually act like a big boy. Can I get a 5x5 from somebody? Let me know that everything is good. I'm actually using like real big boy equipment. There's no training wheels here. There's no touch screens, all the really simple stuff that makes it so that I can use it. But it's a better setup, to be sure. How early is the chat available to start chatting, asks Lisa Trimble. That changes on every show. But we try to get them up half hour usually or more. Thank you, Lori Ellington and everyone else. I appreciate you. So, great gig in the sky. I don't think I have ever said hello to great gig in the sky. Welcome to the boat. Becca Jean, good to see you. Bacon Bits, Ben Turner, Brazy Girl, Lori Ellington, Alex Moore, DNV 1983. I'm glad you're here. Layla Bradley from the other side of the world. Danielle McCoy, good to see you. That would be the real McCoy. Alex Moore, glad you're here. Jeff, hey, welcome back, Jeff E. Good to see you, man. Debbie with an I. I live for now. Good to see you. Lumen. Okay, we're getting pretty close to being able to start. Lumen is here. Lumen is here. Mimi, suppressive puff. Man, I love that. What could possibly be better than suppressive pups? Maybe suppressive kitties. Hi from Ontario. I love it. We're all over the world today. Tony's Hooter, what's happening? Karen M, good to see you. What Fox? Carrie Wilson. Lisa Trimble, my friend. Love everyone. Good morning. You know what? I think Lisa's having a good day. Oh, it's funny. Tommy, just so we're clear, whatever it is, I didn't kill it, break it, eat it, or I don't know where it is. Okay, all right. He's firing a preemptive shot across the bow, making sure that today's thumbnail is not about him. I respect that, man. I really do. And I think you're safe on this one. Soaro Christmas, Meredith Lynn, happy you're here. And today's lesson, Lynn Sanity, good to see you. Today's lesson, beautifully, like so often on the Lifeboat. There'll probably be a couple of dozen people who think that I'm talking directly to them. And if you're doing something right, that's usually the case, right? But this is a subject matter that never gets old. It doesn't matter how many times I talk about it. Hey, DeAudrey Gore, good to see you. Glad you're here. I love it when you can catch them live. I usually have to do them at weird hours to get you, but it's always nice to see you here. Hey, Jenny D. Welcome. Lisa Trimble, I'm proud of you. Lisa says, been following the game plan. You know what? It's funny how life gets good when you start following the game plan, isn't it? Boy, I got to be really careful that I don't block anybody because I'm jealous. I'm telling you, touch screen. If you spent a lot of time in the joint, it may sound really stupid, but the mouse itself is so hard to use. Megan Hawkins, been on a relapse lately. Sorry for my absence. No, you don't have to apologize for that, as I was hiding it, but no excuses. For my relapse with alcohol, despite having had liver cirrhosis and diabetes, but I own it for sure. You know what? I appreciate you. I really do. Armine, good to see you. Spanx Calhoun, I am glad you're here. A couple of things real quick. The Purple Heart is the symbol there. So if that's legit, thank you so much for your service. The reason I say if that's legit, there's a lot of convicts who use that symbol for a lot of things. For probably 5 years, every single stamp sold in the federal system, forever stamps, all had the Purple Heart on it. And that was currency, right? That was currency. So, you spend stamps every single day inside prison. You have to have something that has some value, right? You can't really have fiat currency in prison. It has to be backed by something. And stamps do have value. So that is the currency, but I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars, 50 cents at a time, looking at that. A lot of guys tattoo that onto their bodies as well. Very popular tattoo. Annika's mom says, Tommy, how many do you need to get to 21,000? About 900. I think I'm at 20,096 or 97. So we need about 3 or 4 more to get to 20,100. And we will, I think we'll hit that today. We've been bringing a lot in. I'm kind of happy about that. Sweet Koala, good to see you. Jin Jin, started your journal today. Nice. That's what I'm talking about. You are absolutely okay to brag. Linsanity. Are you seeing this, people? Are you seeing this? Tommy, I hope it's okay to brag. It's always okay to brag about sobriety here. Always. We celebrate victories. Brag your ass off. You have every right to brag, my friend. Couldn't be any happier for you. Linsanity. You know something? I know it's here. I am in the right place. The official participation trophy of the lifeboat. It has been the official participation trophy of the lifeboat since about the fourth or fifth time we went live. When someone said, you really should have a trophy to give when people do well. And I thought, well, that's kind of funny. But you earned that, Insanity. Oh, wow. Wow. Um, Thank you for your service. Really appreciate you. That's was a tough part of the world too. I'm glad that you're with us. God bless and thank you for being on the lifeboat. It's an honor. Spanx nailed it. Right? This is my kid. Pretty proud of him. Spanky says a relapse can be a learning experience. I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you're sharing. Suffering in silence kills people like us. Literally. Suffering in silence kills addicts. It's easy to think smack does that, right? Blow does that. Meth does that. Those things are stuff that we put into our body because of a disease that we have, but they're just symptoms. Honest to God, they're symptoms. And how do I know that? Because we help people get that crap out of their lives. If you've been on the boat a long time, we had a guy that, Fancy Nancy, good to see you. We had a guy that came on and everybody was rocking with him. We were all so proud of this guy because he was breaking out of generational drug addiction. And he then kind of disappeared, which happens all the time. With a channel this size, people come in and out. And a lot of times they go out because they're doing great, right? Because they don't feel like they need to come to meetings all the time, or they found a local meeting or whatever. You know, that's great. That makes sense. That's not what happened with our friend. He would come back every once in a while and tell us he's doing well. And then he came back and said, about 2 or 3 months into my sobriety, I started farting around online with just doing a little bit of gambling, playing a little bit of online poker. You know how that story ends, right? Sweetie, good to see you. Donna, how are you? Jen, good to see you. That would be East Coast Fancy Nancy. Let's not get that confused. Rosanna Dana, Lori Abs, there's Scooby. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Yes, you caught alive. Welcome to the boat. Glad that you caught alive. Always makes me happy. Suffering in silence kills people like us. Make no mistake. You really need to come here and do exactly what you're doing, or go someplace where you can say, you know what, I relapsed. Relapse coming in a couple of varieties, right? And one is called the Great Relapse. The Great Relapse is usually the last relapse because something happens, right? Something happens. Usually, it's because we've started to actually take the measures necessary to live a productive life as a drug addict, right? We start journaling, we start doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing. When that relapse happens, now we can go back to the external hard drive, start reading the things that we've been writing down for the last 2 weeks, and you will realize where you went off the rails. Feel me? You will come to the realization of, holy crap, 2 Wednesdays ago, this happened. I didn't deal with it. I didn't go and talk to the person about it. I stuffed it in the closet and it started there. And you'll see, you go to the next page, you're like, holy crap, 4 days and I'm still writing about this. This was a big deal and I didn't take care of it. And now look where I'm at. Hold on one second. Is alcoholism genetic or learned by generations? I know it's genetic in native culture. It's absolutely genetic, but there is both nature and nurture. Absolutely. Both come into play huge. Just because mom and dad were suffering with alcoholism doesn't mean you will. Your odds are through the friggin' roof. There's a really good chance you're going to, because it is passed down, and there are anomalies where twin brothers, right? One is an addict, one is not. It's a very unusual thing. But trust and believe, if you're coming from parents who are addicted, you need to be very, very careful. I think suffering in silence isn't good for anyone's soul. It manifests as addiction, anger, depression, etc. Confronting emotions and sitting in them is one of the hardest things for people to do. What a great comment. And it's absolutely a fact. Hey, Tommy Stiggs, it's an honor to have you here on the boat. Appreciate you, my brother. This is real, right? This is absolutely real. Ooh, spent 10 years. I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. No Face, how are you? Oh, we'll talk about this. Spent 10 years in a tent in the woods in Washington State. Just got off the phone trying to get food stamps. Have a roof over my head now, but I'm humble enough to ask when needed. Love to all that have struggled. You know what? Awesome. Truthfully, awesome. 34 days, short, off of Xanax day by day. But sunflower seeds, journaling, and sleep are sure helpful. Absolutely, they are. Right? They absolutely are. Now, journaling is huge. Journaling is, I'm telling you, it's the backbone of sobriety. You know, why is that? Well, because if you look at every program that has its 20% success rates, right? You go into AA, NA, any of those, go into to Betty Ford, if you go into any type of rehab and you go in there, you're looking at probably 20% is the success rate. Takes a lot of time. You got to keep going back in or whatever. Megan Hawkins says, my alcoholism is self-inflicted. None of my family members are addicts. Look, it's definitely a nature and a nurture. Think of it exactly like this. Think of it like type 2 diabetes, right? You weren't born with it, but you were born with a genetic predisposition to where if you start living a lifestyle that is not conducive, an unhealthy lifestyle, then what's going to happen is then you're going to wind up developing that type 2 diabetes. However, you may be able to avoid that even though you have the genetic predisposition if you live a very specific type of lifestyle. It's the exact same thing with an addict. Let's say you know for a stone cold fact that gene's been passed on. My kid is an addict. Mom was addicted to heroin. I'm addicted to heroin. We can assume that my daughter for sure will be addicted if she tries that. But if she never tries it, the fact that she's an addict is not really that big a deal. So it really is a half and half thing. And by the way, she could try it, get the crap scared out of her, never do it again. That's a possibility. The odds are not in her favor. The odds are that the first time she does it, she's going to go, I want to feel like this for the rest of my life. Sadly, that's really what that disease does to people. So now there's a couple of things that I want to go over today. This is a really cool concept. The journaling thing, huge, right? You need an external hard drive, especially as you get older. But even when you're in your youth, you need something on the outside of the body where you're writing down what's going on in your life and how you feel about that. Why? Because it forces a couple of different parts of the brain to slam into each other and actually work together, right? If we just start talking, you know what I mean? You can sort of get into pure emotion, start gritting your teeth. But to make that emotion get out on paper, you've got to activate a whole bunch of things in your brain that very often can talk you into mellowing out. Right? Journaling is a beautiful thing that way. And it is like a magic portal to who you are. And this may come as a shock to you when you hear this, but most of you don't have any idea who you are. Patty Collins, I kind of missed the first half of that, I think. And if you could see how great I am with this, let's see if I can find it here real quick. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. Rachel says, addiction runs in my family, but my sister says we're not addicts because we used and put it down without help. But I don't know. Well, here's the deal. She might be right. She might be right. Would you be willing to bet your life on it? Because I promise you, that's exactly what you're doing. For real. Because if it gets a hold of you, your life's never going to be the same. Think of Frodo in Lord of the Rings. Once you carry that addiction around for a while, I mean, you can get it off. You can take that ring off, but I promise you, it's going to leave a mark. And for the rest of your life, you're going to be different. So your sister could be right, but I wouldn't bet my life on it. All right? I really wouldn't. It's pretty frightening when you think about it in those terms too, right? But that's really what's going on, is that you'd be betting your life. And God help us, there's just not much worth betting your life on. An ABBA tour would be really successful. You can pretty much bet your life on that. If ABBA were to tour today, they'd kill it. My understanding, I read an article online that said that they were offered, no joke, by one of the credit card companies, I think, $1 billion to go on tour. And they said, no, we got enough cash, right? What are we going to do with $1,000 million? That's a pain in the ass anyway. Haven't used in 10 years, meth free. Good for you. Now, I don't know how long you used meth for, right? But you might have just gotten sober. You might be an addict that got clean. You'd have to really journal about your story, but that's a possibility. The cravings for a drug that you abuse for a couple of years can be really bad. If you're not an addict, though, you tend to not get those cravings nearly as much, right? It really doesn't happen. If you ever hear Quids talk about this, right? That would be Reese Quibell. If you ever hear her talk about the 2 or 3 years that she was knee deep in meth, she used every single day for a couple of years, then walked away, didn't have any cravings. She was not a drug addict. She was living like one. She was abusing drugs every single day, just like a drug addict. But the fact that she could walk away without so much as a Jones, as they say on the street, right? She wasn't even jonesing a little bit. Journaling helps me see the relapse before the relapse. Just saying, cooking with grandma. Love that comment. That is exactly what it is supposed to do. But it will give you the opportunity for the great relapse. Now you got the ability to go back, see what happened, and actually start to do things like the next time you start writing that down, you go, and so did this. Holy shit, the last time this happened, I relapsed. The last time this happened, I relapsed. Start going back through your journal, read exactly what happened. Oh boy, I'm not doing that. I'm not putting this in a closet. I'm not going to suffer in silence. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get busy. I'm going to start journaling. I'm going to start doing all of the things necessary to ensure that I stay sober, I stay happy. Look, it doesn't have to be a drug thing. You realize that, honest to God in heaven, it makes zero difference whether we're talking about drugs or anything else. Journaling is such an essential part of your life, whether you got a handle on that or not. It is really and honestly one of everybody that is good at anything does it. Millie the Dating Lion says addiction runs in our family. So does the neuro spiciness. But mother also, I don't know what that is. But mother also gave me Finnegan to sleep. Oh, as a few months old baby, who knows? I just know I need to abstain. Finnegan to help somebody sleep. Boy, that's awful. There's just no other way to put that. That's freaking awful. That's usually given out to people for an anti-nausea, but I don't like the idea of giving anything to kids. That makes me sick. Really does. I fought that fight and lost, and I think it's left scars on me that you wouldn't friggin' believe. But I'm not. I'm so glad that you're here. And Millie, you're a very kind human being. Consistently, just one of the kindest people on the boat. So I'm pretty happy with how you've turned out. I was like Reese. That's how it did it for me. I relapsed about once a year for a few, and then just said no to dangerous, I assume, drugs. Um, yeah, there are a lot of people like this. Brazy says, Jimena, been praying for you all week. You know what? Thoughts and prayers. We get some ones for Jimena. And Jimena, you are in my thoughts and prayers every day. Literally, your name was in my prayer journal this morning. I've said it many times before, but trauma is the number one reason why people start using. Pinch Becky, I believe with you. I mean, I believe you 100%. I believe you 100%. It is the vast majority of people who begin to use drugs on a regular basis do so as an escape mechanism from something. It isn't always trauma. Sometimes people are born into situations that may not be traumatic, but just lend themselves to addiction, sadly. Sorry. I'm catching up here. I'm catching up. All right, so yeah, I think I'm pretty much caught up at this point. Now, the concept of journaling as not just an adjunct to sobriety, but as a way to literally propel you through life. There are a lot of cliches that I could sit here and beat the piss out of for the next 30 or 40 minutes, you know, but all of them are cliches for really good reasons. You're not going to, when you sit there and come up with these greatest ideas in the world and you got them in your head, you're like, man, you know what? We could do this, this, and this. It's a pipe dream. It's a friggin' pipe dream. If you take that pipe dream and put it down on paper and go through a really simple, small, hello, easy kind of what this goal that I have, why do I have it? Very interesting. Well, I want to be successful. Why? Somebody reached out the other day and said, I'm starting a YouTube channel. I said, all right, what's the channel about? They said, I don't know yet. That's why in hell are you starting a YouTube channel? If there's something that you're passionate about, right, that you would be really happy to sit in front of a camera and talk to people about in hopes that when they listen to you, something happens. Doesn't matter what that is. You might be swaying them, to your point of view. You might be trying to help. You might be trying to entertain, trying to make them laugh, right? Trying to bring people together for connection, trying to put a place out there in social media where it's not just ugly, because most of social media has gotten pretty freaking nasty, you know? Journaling is what helps me become the best version of myself, says Cooking with Grandma. Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what will happen if you start to journal? You're going to start peeling the onion. As my friend was saying, it all comes from trauma, right? We know that. Peeling the onion is going to get you to that trauma. Now you could be sitting here and going, oh, come on, man. So, like, I don't know what has caused me to be an addict. In many cases, that's the truth. Really. It was for me. I told counselor after counselor for years that the reason I did drugs is because I really liked the way they made me feel, right? That was it. I really liked the way drugs made me feel. So I continued to do them. And then I got addicted to them. And it's a hell of a story. Just isn't the truth. But I would have gone to the grave believing that had I not started to journal. Jimena, thank you so much. Jimena says, I just want to say that this crew, this boat is what has kept me going this week. I've had so many people reaching out. It warms the heart. I love you all. You know what? It's a family. It really is. It tickles me to no end that everybody really comes together and leans on one another. Or I'll get a picture of 2 or 3 of you that met up, people that drove from state to state or whatever. That's my drug of choice, P.O. I think I'm kidding. Connection is my drug of choice. As you start peeling that onion, you're going to get back to where that trauma is. And then you're going to have to start going through some, my boy would say, the shadow work, right? I think Carl Jung may be the first person to have said that. But, that where you're going into the dark realm, you're looking at things that are really uncomfortable and maybe not that fun. But you know what? If you're doing it on a piece of paper without a therapist there, if it's just you and you, I think that's pretty healthy. I really do. Now, I have a great therapist. So very often as we're talking, she'll go, get your journal. I want to hear, read me the last 4 or 5 days, or go back 2 weeks and start reading some journal entries. Because I got a team of people that are really fighting hard to keep me not just sober, but able to help other people, able to continue to do what I'm doing. I tried journaling, but I was too weak. That's enough of that. 7 months of waste, constant gut pain, diarrhea, etc. It's a nightmare that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. I have trauma, but for me, it's an excuse, in my humble opinion. Weak has nothing to do with it, right? Weak has got nothing to do with it. Wow. Please, you got to get over that. Words mean things. Words mean things. Small words mean things. This is how ants are born. Automatic negative thoughts, right? Automatic negative thoughts. I've talked about this a lot on the boat. It's an acronym, ANT. Automatic negative thoughts will crawl all over your brain and tell you you're not worth a shit. Tell you that, you know what, you shouldn't be here. Your mom loved your brother more than you. You're not nearly as good looking as your sister. Whatever the damn automatic negative thoughts, it's going to get to the things that really eat you alive, and then just that beating you with it. You say, why would my brain do that? Well, because your brain wants to get to the lowest common denominator, which would hopefully for the brain be you just drugging the hell out of yourself, right? No reason whatsoever to have to worry about anything. Let's just get wasted, sit back and sleep. Not really much of a life. But your brain isn't on board for having you be the best version of yourself. Sadly, it's not. So you got to consciously work with an external hard drive that isn't part of what's going on up here. Write it down in a journal. Start journaling. Now, 7 months, the weakness has got nothing to do with it. You need to journal in such a way. If you understand why you're journaling, it's really important, right, to get a handle on why we are journaling. What we need to do is get to the things in our life that are causing us nightmares, trauma, and all of the other things that are going on. We need to get to that and work through it. It's very difficult. It's not always a process that is easy. And very often it requires professional help, right? Professionals to work you through, especially if the trauma is very, very difficult. There is nothing at all that is weak about getting help, right? Asking for help. It's a difficult thing to do in society, period. But for heroes, right? For real, for warriors, it is a more difficult thing to do than it would be for anyone else. And you are obviously a warrior. But you have to realize the strength that it takes to say, I need help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate sign of strength. You go, oh, there's no way. Really? Then why is it so difficult to do? Seriously, why is it so hard to do? It should be easy, right? It should be easy. But your brain knows it's epic. Your brain knows that if you do reach out, if you're brave enough to do that, then you really are going to get things lined up. You're going to get some people. And look, and if the first person you talk to isn't good, fire them. If the second person you talk to isn't good, fire them. Chris, my therapist, I think she was number 5. I fired a couple, and a couple I lost because the government kept picking up different contracts. But when the government stopped paying for Chris, I started paying for Chris. I don't think I could live without her. And if I did, if I had to, I would sure need someone just like her. On the bright side, she's younger than I am, and I don't see her shutting down her practice anytime soon. Rachel says, not asking for help comes from childhood neglect. Figure it out. Figure it out mentally. You know what? The fact that that someone says I was too weak, if that statement comes out, and I mean this with all respect, it really is a statement that is going to undermine everything you're doing for success. And it comes from a society that tells us that if you're addicted to drugs, you're weak, right? If you have mental health issues, you're weak. If you need to take medication for mental health, you're weak. Weak is something they keep beating the piss out of. And then it's not just, we have friends who have no perspective, right? Your friend looks at you, you're drinking a fifth of bourbon a day because you have a disease. And your friend looks at you and goes, do a shot of bourbon and then put the bottle back, instantly feeling superior to you, right? They're strong. No, they don't have a disease. Honestly, you would never go up to somebody and give them the same kind of bullshit about diabetes. Man, you can't process sugar. What are you, wimp? If I've had a rough day and I don't journal, I will wake up with a migraine, in a bad mood, all sorts of bad feelings. It is a lost art. I love how much you advocate for it. Thank you, April. This is the backbone of how I stay sober. You do not have to believe the things that I believe, but this is the backbone of how I stay sober. And I do not let the things that happen to me during the day, I do not go to sleep until those things are on paper. And I'm doing it for two reasons. And one of the reasons is pretty obvious. I would like a history of what's going on so that I can look back and look for patterns that lead me in the wrong direction. Because a relapse isn't putting the bottle to your lips or putting the rig in your arm. The relapse is when you start this freaking process, right? And it could take 3 years. It could take 5 years, but you're going in the wrong direction. You can't sit in neutral if you're trying to better yourself. Forget addiction. If you're trying to better yourself, you need to continue to move forward, right? Makes sense. Throw addiction in. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. There's no two ways about it. It's, recovery. It's a verb, and you really have to become an active part of it, right? For real. And sadly, you're right. There are too many people who think that, this is a hard thing. People, you're writing down what happened to you during the day. You don't have to be Shakespeare, right? You don't have to doll this up. You just write down what happened to you during the day. Now, if you do that for 4 or 5 months, you're going to find out there's a little bit of Shakespeare in you. And when you write something like, that woman at work that drives me absolutely insane said this, this, and this, the emotion, right? And the logic center of your brain are going to come together. And all of a sudden, you have a therapist in the room with you, right? In your brain. You're going to start bitch slapping your brain back into line. I'm not kidding. And you know what? If you're serious about turning your life around, then you do all these things. Did they make you feel stupid? You betcha. I felt absolutely stupid doing the things that Q wanted me to do. And I knew I looked stupid. There were days, I swear to you, where I thought, I'm getting this is just literally to make me look stupid. I would say I'm getting punked, but in prison, that's not such a good word. Random acts of kindness always returns. Hugs, strength, prayers to all. 30 days sober, down to half benzos. Lifeboat, stay aboard. It works. You know what, Brazy? Couldn't be more proud of you. Couldn't be more proud of you. And getting off benzos the right way. Not doing anything stupid, right? Listen up. If you're bad enough into your addiction cycle with booze or with benzos and you quit cold turkey, it can and will kill you. You will seize up. Gracie's doing it the right way. She's working with her doctor right? And she's doing it over a step-down process. Proud of you, girl. Really, really proud of you. That's amazing stuff. And it makes me happier than, it really does. My goodness. And Brazy also is throwing out hot sauce packets. Thank you so much, Brazy. And I think Pinched Becky is doing the same thing. You know what? This entire crew is going to turn green today. This entire crew is going to turn green today. That is a beautiful thing. Wow. I should not be allowed to use a mouse. I really shouldn't. I don't have the hang of it in any way, shape, or form. On the bright side, I mean, we're good, Calhoun. I'm not losing it. I'm cool. I mean, I'm calm as hell. I just don't have a whole lot. I don't have a lot of skill in this. I'm actually laughing my ass off. I don't care about it. Thank you, Pinch Becky. 0 F's given. Ran right out, did you? The field where your F's are grown is now barren.
I have that meme actually. I'll send it over so we can throw it up next time.
Yeah, I love that. It's pretty funny, but it's true. Okay, so back to this journaling thing. You don't have to be Shakespeare. You have to write down what happened during your day so that when you go to sleep, you don't take all of this paperwork to your subconscious brain and throw it at him, right? It's like taking a filing cabinet full of crap and dumping it on the floor and saying to the shift that's coming on, best of luck, see you in 8 hours. That's what you're doing. The brain doesn't shut down at night. If anybody tells you that that's what happens, they haven't read a book in a long time. For real, that's what happens. They have not read a book in a very long time because the science now is saying that that's not the case at all. The science now is also saying that when your eyes start doing this rapid eye movement stuff, that's deep sleep. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on when you are in Delta, but you do not have to be in Delta to dream. You don't. You can start dreaming instantly the second you close your eyes. What it comes down to is how much do you need to dream? They call it dream pressure. The doctor that's been theorizing this calls it dream pressure. If you go long enough without sleep and without dreaming, the dream pressure will build up and then you are going to dream. I promise you're going to dream and you're going to do it instantly. Fancy Nancy says, I offered my Amazon driver waters yesterday and he said, thanks, but do you happen to have a snack also? I hooked him up. I love that. I really do. I love that. Brazy Girl, thank you for all of the love today. I know I probably didn't get all of them up because I'm just not that good. But I really do appreciate you. Lost Mittens, good to see you. Can you please ask your son if he got my email about the acupuncture doctor in Tucson, please? I will do that. I probably will not do that right now, but I promise you I will do that. As I said, you don't have to be Shakespeare. You have to write down what happened during the day so that the night shift, when they come on, if you've written down everything that happened during your day, when you shut your eyes and the dream team starts to work, it is a subconscious that is working through things that you can't work through during the day, right? You didn't really have a chance to let your emotions run wild when your boss called you whatever. Right? Your boss made you feel less than. It's called you something that's dehumanizing, whatever. But you wanted to tear his head off, but you couldn't. You had to just sort of bite your lip and walk out of the room. Well, in your subconscious, it can work through that any way it wants. In fact, maybe in your dreams, you'll pick the dude up, fly out of the room, throw him into a volcano with all of LRH's friends. The point being, you can do things and work through things in the dream state that you obviously can't do in the real world. And you ever notice dreams never seem to make any sense, right? Or they will, but they won't. So I was with my 3 best friends, right? And we were out drinking at a bar, but the bar was actually my homeroom from high school, which is bizarre because none of my 3 friends went to high school, right? And in the room was what looked like a Shetland pony, right? This is how, what the hell? Well, to your brain, that's all meaning something. And if you have a dream journal and you can look up in there and it'll tell you, hey, Shetland pony means you're dreaming about this, I promise you that that's just speculation. Your brain is writing the script. Your brain might view a pony a whole lot different than the guy that wrote the book or all of the people that they interviewed, the guy that wrote the book. Right? I mean, if when you were 12, your pony passed away, well, then it sure as hell isn't going to mean the same to you as it does to the guy in the book. And everything is that way, right? Everything. What makes us unique is what makes our dreams unique, right? Should be fairly obvious. My dreams are so bizarre, but they keep my therapist entertained. Sometimes there are musical numbers. I love that, Deaudrey Gore. And you know what? Send me an email. I think you may need to reach out to somebody because there are certain things that are very, very odd. Kristen Kruger, let's talk about it. We'll hop off journaling for a moment. Kristen Kruger says, I feel confused by this channel. Maybe I'm too old. Well, I don't know about that. Perhaps I don't understand the rules. No politics or religion except what certain people get away with. If you're speaking of religion, here's how it goes. If somebody says, God bless you, right? Or I'm praying for you, if that offends you, get the hell out of here. Because there's something wrong with you spiritually. The fact that someone would say, hey, I'm praying for you, if you take that as an insult, you need to do a lot more journaling. Now, if you're talking about politics, where politics and drugs intersect, sometimes we do talk about politics, but you're not hearing me tell you to vote for this person or vote for that person. And if those pop up in chats, we remove them. No religion talk. Now, will I talk about the cult of Scientology? It's not a religion. Trust and believe it's not a religion. It's a cult. It's a cult that traffics all kinds of bad stuff. It's a horrific cult, right? And I have a bunch of friends who were born into it. If you want to join a cult, join a friggin' cult. But when they stick around long enough to have second and third generation people born into it, it's disturbing as hell. So if maybe that's the religion that I'm talking about, I'm sorry, it's not a religion. And I will talk about cults here. Probably won't give them a whole lot of love, too. You know, I probably won't. Now, we have a rule, too, that says mean people suck. Jersey Jan says, what if the bless you, not for a sneeze, makes you uncomfortable? Not angry, just uncomfortable. Then you should ask yourself why someone's saying anything positive. If you said to me, hey, man, I burned something in an effigy in your honor. I sacrificed, not an animal, but I did whatever in anything anyone's doing that's trying to do something kind and lift me up. If that's making me uncomfortable, I think maybe you need to journal and find out why. Ask yourself why that makes you uncomfortable. So cults are fair game. I'm extremely spiritual. Well, I'm glad you're extremely spiritual. So you want me to back off on the cult of Scientology? You think they're a pretty ethical group? Huh? Is that a religion that I should treat with the respect of anybody else's beliefs? I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Spend some time with the second gens. It's pretty horrific. Read some of their literature. If you're teaching little boys and girls at the age of 5 that you should never forgive anybody, right? It lets the person that screwed you over get away with it. Oh, that sucks. Sorry to hear that. Kristen Kruger says, Donna, I'm sorry you're angry, and age has no bearing. I'm 66. Politics is different. I had a boss who objected to God bless you. I asked one day if he would rather God curse you. I don't know. I find it really bizarre that some of the things that people, if I come across a post, right, that is, first of all, if I come across a post in a forum that I control and I find it offensive, I'll take it down because I'm not trying to bum anybody out, right? I don't want anybody bummed out. And the reason that I don't pick on Catholicism, or I don't pick on religions that have been around for a very long time, that half of the world in one way or another kind of believes that deity is, and I don't care what you believe. I'm not here pumping that. And I have beliefs. I'm very, very strong in my beliefs, but I'm not sitting here and trying to convert anybody to my beliefs, because the backbone of what we do here is we try to help people whose lives suck. We try to help people who every day they wake up feeling really uncomfortable in my own skin, right? People who are really, really uncomfortable in their own skin have a very difficult time living without the aid of something else. And more often than not, that ends up being drugs, right? But not always. Sometimes it's people that are overeating. Sometimes it's like the story I was starting to tell earlier, a guy that gets sober, third generation, gets sober, and then starts gambling like there's no tomorrow because we're always ready to roll. We're always ready to get on to the next one because our brain wants the escape. The dopamine that we've been given it wants that. Dory says, I'm not a Christian and religion isn't my thing, but when people want to say bless you, have a blessed day, Merry Christmas, etc., I happily and positively respond because it's pleasantly a nice thing. Well, and you know what? I was in prison for a really long time. And salam alaikum is what half of the population says every single time they walk by you, right? It's not my religion, but I'm not going to go, don't say that crap to me, right? I normally gave him the response with respect. Well, yeah, Kristen, you noticed that I didn't bounce you out or block you. I'm trying to help you understand, and hopefully we did. We've tried to build a place that's really low rent in terms of drama, right? And I try to spend the vast majority of my time, as does my son and anybody else that sits in the chair, talking about concepts more than people. However, if I feel like, because you're in my living room, right? If I feel like there are groups out there that are systematically abusing people, I'm probably going to take a look at it. And I believe I am 1000% sold and sure on the fact that the things that the cult of Scientology do to human beings, you would have to sit down and design something to try to destroy a human to make it any worse. For real. How do you make a parent lose all of that bond with a kid? Because so often we see second gens where they just go, yeah, they throw the kid out. They literally toss the kid out. There is so ingrained in all of us that we're going to love this thing. It's literally ingrained in us. They can beat that out of people, then they need to be gone. Things that they teach are horrific. And you know what? You know what? It costs a crap load of money. It really does. All of my friends, right? No question. Someone said you should be in an odd way. You should be grateful for Scientology because of where it brought you with your new friends. Yeah, I love my friends. I really do. Particularly Quibble. I really dig her more than anything. But I would much rather I would give up my relationship with her to give her an opportunity to go back and be born into a family that didn't put her into that cult. That would just be the right thing to do if I could. And you know what? You may think I'm a nut, right? Talk about faith and all of that stuff. I think if that were to happen, she would have found me anyway, or I would have found her, one or the other. May sound hokey, but I'm really starting to believe in that stuff. I need to be getting ready for therapy. I'm procrastinating in a great place. You know what? I'm so happy you're going to therapy. I'm so happy that you're going to therapy. So, yeah, and no one be mean to anybody that has a question like that. Here's the deal. At the beginning of the show, for about a year and a half, you know what, Kristen Kruger? I can't use that word. If I use that word, they're going to bury the video. Sadly, the algorithm, there are certain words that you cannot say on here. And I'm taking a hit financially because I say things like heroin. There are a lot of people that are just not going to advertise with people that talk about this stuff. And I can come up with code words for all of it. But that particular word, SA, right? I will use the acronym and absolutely we can talk about SA. If you go back and watch the Danny Masterson stuff, I mean, we got pretty off into the weeds. And I also am Weird friggin' thing to say. I am an SA survivor as well. It does happen to dudes. Nana of Two says, Tommy runs a great boat. He allows us to be ourselves. Asking questions is good. We like kindness and sharing, in my opinion. Absolutely. We absolutely do. But yeah, I used to have a video that came on in the beginning, and it would say, welcome to the lifeboat. And it would, basically said, we got, we're looking at you. Because a lot of people, this is a safe space. And if you're a jackwagon, we got people with wrenches who are looking to see how old your account is. If you made your account yesterday, I'm a little nervous that you somehow found the lifeboat in 24 hours. This doesn't make sense. So we're always a little edgy because you all share some really heavy stuff. And then we talk about it. You don't need jackasses having fun at people's expenses in the chat. We don't. That was always very, very important to me. More than anything. In fact, after a really horrific set of people were saying things and really hurting people that I cared about in the crew, we took this to a different platform for about a month and a half, and we wouldn't let anybody onto the boat that we didn't know, right? You had to be, and it didn't cost them anything, right? And you know what? I was going to a platform where you couldn't get a super chat. In fact, we were doing it in a place you couldn't get paid. But we didn't want people to get hurt. And then what we realized is the people that really needed to hear us weren't hearing us. So it was really actually a pretty cool thing, because my partner, Mark Wages, literally, like, we hadn't talked in a week or two, right? And we sent text messages to each other. Like, it hit my phone as I was hitting send. And the same thing happened to him. And both of us were saying, I don't know what we're doing, but we really need to get the boat back up and running. I'm not healthy without it. Kristen Kruger, I know you're not. I know you're not a troll. If you were a troll, I would have had someone with a wrench. No, I've responded to comments of yours for a long time. I know who you are. You had a question. It's all good, people. Let's talk about this. This is kind of important, right? In the owning it thing. Do you have any idea how many times I've had to do a video and come out and say, I screwed that one up, all right? My fault, mea culpa, all right? This comes back on me. I've had to own a crap load of stuff since the boat got started, right? I've also been accused of a lot of stuff I didn't do, and I'm not owning anything I didn't do. Right? Those days are over too, right? Those days are over. But I've been really open and honest, and I've shared all of the things that, I've shared all of the trials and tribulations along the way, and I think it's created a very different kind of bond. Hey, there's Johnny Scoville. It's my brother. He's kind of a big deal. I don't know if you know that, but he really is. My brother, for those of you who don't know, because there are some of you who don't, my brother's a big YouTuber, and he's had a couple of reality shows. Kind of a big deal. I don't use the L word because he gets all kinds of dicey when I do, but I'm not going to be bummed out at any of you that use the L word. He is kind of the Babe Ruth of eating really hot things and doing it without so much as even a glimmer of anything on the face to tell him that, ouch. Kristen Kruger says, haven't met him yet. Well, there you go. I would imagine there's a bunch of you that haven't met him. Well, you can also head over to Chase the Heat and watch him hop out of an airplane while eating the hottest peppers on the planet. Johnny's not quite right. Or as they say over there on Chase the Heat, he's got issues. Jeremy Shelton says, oh no, please don't tell me somebody played ABBA in front of you. I'm so sorry. You know what? You weren't here earlier because I was talking about it. Pretty damn excited about it too. I'm a fan. Pukavista, glad you're here. Hey, Kristen Kruger, I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad you're asking questions. V. McWilliams, good to see you. April Goodson, how are you? I love ABBA. How can you not? ABBA and the Bee Gees. It's always fun to... Trolls just mean a lot more people are interested in what you're talking about. A lot of truth to that. For real. I mean, look, the business model of a troll is to try to piss off the audience of someone that has a larger channel. and in hopes that they will come over to check out what the person's saying. That's how they build their business. It's not a particularly kind, be good, Johnny. It's not a particularly kind business model, but it's a business model, right? And look, there are people who are just losers who go out to be mean and to be pricks, and then there are people who honestly have elevated it to a bit of a art form. I know that there's a guy out there that all of you hate, but say what you will, he wouldn't be here for as long as he has been here if A, he didn't have a delivery of some kind that people enjoy, right? And B, the dude's there's got to be some truth to some of the things he says. Now, it is a sweaty parasite business model. It really is. It really is. But there are some people out there that have kind of elevated it to an art form. And what I mean by that is, if you got to pick on people, don't just randomly pick on people because their channels are huge. And that's usually what happens with trolls. Sometimes people end up with a specific complaint about people and they run with it. I don't know if that makes you a troll. I don't. I guess I would have to journal and really think about that. I prefer the old troll business model. You had to answer a riddle to pass. Correct. Yeah. And spent a lot of time under bridges. Surprised you didn't know that. I prefer that business model as well. Info Dump Truck says, I like protest trolls. Other trolls are gross. And by that, I think, like the auditors. Auditors the people that do it well, they're fun to watch. They really are. The people that know the law to the letter of the law, and they don't seem to be there to try to escalate something as much as they can. A lot of times, unfortunately, with auditors, it ends up with you sitting back and going, I'm struggling to figure out which side's the good side and which side's the bad side. And that if that's happening, then that's probably not such a good thing. But the people that do it well, it really is something to watch. Tammy, thoughts and prayers with you and your brother, and we'll see you on the replay. I don't say it enough, but I absolutely love the replay crew. April Godson puts a target on her back for Jeremy with a I love the Carpenters. Just saying. Wow. Jeremy Shelton says, coincidentally, Troll 2 is the worst movie sequel ever. Yeah, no. Wasn't the girl from Friends in Troll? She was in one of the Trolls. You know what I'm talking about? The one that everybody cut their hair. Jennifer Aniston. I think Jennifer Aniston was. Somebody make me right or wrong on that, would you? By the way, when did damn start being spelled as damn? Asks Terry Wilson. I'll tell you when. So I was in Kansas City, and this may come as a shock to you, but people mail YouTubers things, gifts, stuff from. Oh, she was in Leprechaun. Thank you. From all over the world, and she got a package from Europe that was filled with some unique candies and chocolates and things. And in there was a chocolate that I believe may have been manufactured in Sweden. If I'm wrong on that, I don't. But I think I'm right because that's where my memory serves me on this one. But I said I'm gonna start trying these things. Now, Quibs is not nearly as adventurous with food, right? She's very she'll tell you there's about 6 things that she likes, and she's gonna stick with those. But I start ripping them open, and they weren't all great. But the one that said "damn" on it, "dime," I guess is how they say it. But I went "damn," and it kind of got Quibs getting a. It got my other half laughing, and it ended up being a thing that has caught on, so to speak. And Puka Vista, daily work meeting, lurk mode. I love the fact that you're doing that while at work. Tracy Range says, I usually try to be nice, but trolls give me a reason to bring out the inner not nice and feel okay about it. You know what? It's interesting. It is interesting because this is one of those things that I try to, whenever the subject comes up, I try to tell people, if you're getting something out of it, right? If you're getting entertainment out of it, if you find it entertaining, but sometimes it's easy to listen to things that you don't find entertaining. Like, and you start thinking to yourself, well, I got to listen to this or I'm not going to know what's going on. And what you're doing is keeping those people in business. The algorithm doesn't know if you're going like this, right? Or if you're going, I'd like to, doesn't matter. Pays the same, right? And if people stop doing it, then shooting the dice. Welcome, shooting the dice. Hey, good to see you. Be nice until it's time not to be nice. Roadhouse. I'm going to tell you something. I've been known to pick on Jeremy Shaw. We love him. He's been around a long time, but because of his taste in music and movies, sometimes I take shots at him, and all in good-natured fun, of course. But sometimes you just got to give credit where credit is due, and a good Roadhouse reference always just tickles me. Forrest says, I'm like Reese. I have 6 things I like, and my partner will try everything. Sounds a lot like me and Quibs. I literally will try anything. And what's funny is I'm always trying something that she, like, what were we doing the other day? Okra. I said, okra reminds me a lot of going kind of air hanking. You know what I mean? It's just a little bit slimy. The texture thing doesn't work for me at all. But she does oh no, I fry the hell out of them. And she does. Nevertheless, once you get through that outer shell, it's a little bit, damn. Reese and Crystal were talking about the damn story last night. It's pretty funny. It really is pretty funny. But back to the Roadhouse thing. You can't go wrong with a Roadhouse. Feeding the trolls is usually counterproductive, even if it's entertaining at times. Yeah. Again, there's a guy out there now, and I've only seen. I don't watch them. I never want to give anybody the view. I just really don't. But I had somebody that basically put together a greatest hits of this dude. And sent it to me. And oddly enough, I wasn't in the greatest hits very much. There were a couple of things he said about me or whatever, but I laughed. Really did. I laughed through most of it. You know, is what it is. I don't want to reward people, but it was pretty funny. JBZ says, love your lifeboat. Jude here in La Quinta. Lucky 18 in Jewish means long life. Oh. Well, thank you. I will take a long life. I really need one. Dirty Mouse has been having a tough day today. Did something not so nice to a very not nice person last night. I told them off. It felt good. But today I am feeling bad. I'm so timid. It's unlike me. Wow. So here's what you need to do. Let's get to the root of why you did this, right? Get out a piece of paper, preferably your journal, right? So you can go back to it and look at it later. But start writing it out, right? If you figure out exactly why you said the things that you said, and then start writing about the feelings that you have right now, you will probably figure out, because that is an unusual feeling. If it felt fantastic last night, why this morning did it not feel so good? I told someone off, and this doesn't happen to me very often because I just don't interact with people much anymore. But I told someone off 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I ripped a person. I really did. I was not very nice. But I didn't feel regret or remorse afterwards. I went and I journaled about it though, and it's justification. Make no mistake. But sometimes justification is real. Yeah. And as I was writing out, I was like, person's not who I thought they were at all, right? At all. And this person is dishonest, and I don't really want anything to do with them. And yeah, I told them exactly how I felt. And you know what? I felt better after I did. If I didn't let that out here or here, it would have ripped a hole in me. And since I knew that this person who wasn't who they had claimed to be, I'm not going to waste my time. I may as well go right to the source. Hey, if you got a wrench, can you toss up the email so that Kristen can just hit a link on it? Jeremy Shelton would like to know where his cheesesteak is. I better get on that, Shannon Smith. If what you said is true, then is it really justification or just truth telling? Well, here's the thing. To me, Tracy, I almost touched screen you. How funny is that? To me, here's why I say justification. It is the truth. What I'm justifying is saying things that were not kind. At one point, I called this person a cow. It's probably not such a nice thing to say. I think I called them a stupid cow. It's not a very nice thing to say. I felt bad about the delivery. I don't feel bad about the message. But I'm trying to be a person that I'm trying to curse less. I'm trying to just to show off my vocabulary instead of dropping 4-letter words. Trying to just be a better man.
Star and 4 letter words.
I want those 4-cylinder words instead. Cooking with Grandma says, Tommy, a man who heard me share at a meeting asked me to come speak at his men's transitional group. Is this appropriate? I am a woman after all. Absolutely, it's appropriate. If you're comfortable. If you feel uncomfortable, then don't do it. But the first of all, a transitional group, I think that man, woman, it doesn't make any difference at all, right? We are all literally in the same boat. Yeah, we really are. We are all in the same boat. If you talk about the transition in your life, if you talk about the transition from when you were using to now I'm no longer using, it's universal. Yeah. And very often, these may be people that are. Sometimes you run into some people that may not be the most respectful cats in the whole world, but you bring a woman in and they will be. Like even when I was incarcerated, when they brought speakers in from the outside, I never saw a convict say something inappropriate to a woman or anything. And honestly, never saw it because the guys will take them apart for that. My friend's dog had to be put down. Brought back my recent dog's death. Screaming match with my neighbor about her overgrown trees. I did feel a little bad. Yeah, I can understand that. Robin, I can understand that. Info Dump Truck says the difference between justified unkindness and self-indulgent cruelty is intent and honesty. You know what? We can leave this one on. We can leave this one on. Mean people suck. Mean people suck. In the real world, you can't control that. So you gotta journal. Hey, good to see you, Pajama Pixie. You gotta journal. You gotta talk to people. You gotta not let these things build up inside you to where they're going to piss you off. You understand? But here I can control that. If you have a forum that is yours, why would I let anybody be mean? Women were treated well in a men's prison. Absolutely, Shannon Smith. Absolutely, they were treated with respect. They came in as a speaker. The last thing in the world we wanted was for someone to leave that and talk about what animals we are, because you hear that all the time. And one of the most disturbing things in the world is when you have to go and work one-on-one with somebody, and you walk in as a man, and the look they give you is fear. Like it's super obvious on their face that they're terrified of you. That I would rather be on the other side of that. I'd rather be scared than be the person. Having the person look at you and be afraid of you is a horrific thing. It really is. So, and everybody in there understands that. Dirty Mouse. Yeah, it sounds like you did the right thing. Oh, but there was no resolution, and now I was told I look a little crazy to the game players and liars. Well, you know what? The end of that sentence. Let's see. We'll put this up so that the replay crew knows what we're talking about here. All right. There's been a lot of game playing, and I was tired of it, so I went to the source. No name calling, just the truth, and calling out the games and the lies. That's one of two. But there was no resolution, and now I was told I look a little crazy to the game players and to the liars. I don't really care how I look to game players and liars. Like, I'm not trying to be like make this flippant or downplay what you're going through. But honestly, if I've got people in my life that are,
Game players and liars.
that are liars and game players, they're probably on my list of people that I would like to push out of my life anyway. You got to change people, places, things, and attitudes, right? And attitudes. La Quinta, Palm Springs, Tommy, happy you found your person. Wishing you both tons of love. Yes, I'm in Georgia, one of the hardest diseases to kick. Good to see you, JBZ. Yeah, you know, I think it's a rare thing when two people find each other that actually get along. I do think it's a really, really rare thing. And if they're capable of laughing and getting along, well, that's kind of hot stuff right there for real. And then if you throw in some good sex, there's the possibility for that long term thing. As Quib says every once in a while, you know what? This has probably got some potential for some long term stuff. Certain types of men scare me. I go to therapy and I journal, but I still batshit crazy at times. Fear brings out anger for me. Well, Kristen Kruger, I'm glad that you said this out loud, right? There is really a whole lot of therapy that starts when people begin to open up. Is the E listening as I'm pulling weeds from the garden? Sometimes you got to do that with people to tend your mental garden. Yeah, right? Pull some weeds out. Pull some weeds out. If they're players and they're liars, maybe pull them out. Certain types of men scare me. I'm sorry, Kristen Kruger. I had to throw that up there. I get a lot of flack from the replay crew who says when you don't put up what it's confusing if I don't highlight it. April Goodson, it's been a pleasure having you here. April says I got to run and take care of some errands. Love you, Tommy, and I love Reese, and love all you beautiful people here. You got to like that. You really do. Black and white thinking, not in this brain. I like it. I like it. I've never been, I've pretty much lived my entire life in the gray area, I think.
Sometimes I have to make things black and white so that I can choose
a side. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hard for me to make decisions sometimes. So if I make it black and white, it makes it a lot easier.
That's an excellent, that is an excellent observation.
But I have to be careful with that because it's usually a lose sight of what's important when you're making things black and white.
I think I immediately started.
I should have projected that.
Well, I think you probably got it. I immediately started to think of myself in that situation. And I was thinking that it would be very limited, the things that I would do that in, right? The kinds of decisions, but that actually seems to make a lot of sense. Dirty Mouse says, thank you. I'm trying to stop self-judgment and guilt and patterns. It's just damn hard, especially when sober. No question. It really is. Brazy says, I like that, along with connection. Say it out loud. Judging oneself or judging anyone else, this is a disease that our society has so badly. We really are horrific about judging, and it needs to come to an end. Son of a... Yeah, I figured it out. But not very well, Calhoun.
Here, use the wheel. Use your middle finger. Yeah, scroll that crap. You have to have the pointer over the comments for it to work. Okay.
Kim Roy says, when I was in paralegal school, you know, the first time I read that, I saw Portugal, I swear to you. When I was in paralegal school, we did a field trip to tour the penitentiary in Sioux Falls. We hardly saw any inmates till towards the end when we were walking out. That'll be part one. Let's get down here to part two. About 15 or 20 something women. I looked back and there were hundreds of men hanging out of 3 stories of windows of the trustee building. Scared the crap out of me. Yeah, that would scare me. I can completely understand that. And this is something that I talk about often. I've said very Oh, Gamblers Anonymous. Thank you, JBZ. I'm sorry. Uh, it's second gens almost across the board. Um, when they find out that I've been to prison and that I'm a bank robber and all of the other stuff, they are very unique in that there's no reaction at all. Normally, I would say probably 8 out of 10 times, there is a light switch that goes off in the people's eyes. You can see it instantly, and they're not going to look at you the same ever again. Is what it is, right? I brought that crap on myself. I'm not lamenting it, but it's bizarre to me that, like, I've had one second generation Scientologist that absolutely judges the hell out of me, but that's a pretty unbelievable number. The vast majority of them do not care that I've been there. CBC says living well is your best revenge from trauma, with a grin. You know what? Living well is your best revenge for just about everything, right? For real. My dad used to use the phrase living well a lot. And he wasn't talking about money. He was talking about peace, just being left alone to pursue the things that actually make you happy. Shannon Smith says, no one on here treats you differently. I agree with you 100%. It's a little bit different than when you meet someone in person, because inevitably, when I meet someone in person, they're gonna find out what I do for a living and who I am. It's inevitable, because someone's gonna go, oh, this is Tommy. Tommy's a YouTuber, and then yeah, what's your channel about? I try to help people get sober. And then they say, how many people you got? You say 20,000. And then if you stand there and don't say anything, they look at you like, well, open up, fool. This is what you do anyway. And inevitably, I'm going to start talking, and I'm going to have to mention that I had a bit of a drug problem myself. Half of the time, that's enough to throw the switch. You're going to see a change just on that. The second one is when you go, and that heroin addiction led me to rob a bunch of banks, buy and sell guns illegally, and 3 prison sentences. For some people, that really does throw a switch. A lot of people. Tommy, you are a beautiful example of how it is possible to do a 180 and change your life for the better. And as a bonus, you actually help people. Yeah, I'll tell you something. Thank you so much, Carrie. You want to know a secret? All that helping people is how I stay sober. For real. I don't. Does the Lifeboat have an episode on addiction hopping? Yeah, absolutely. We've done a bunch of them on it. I think trading one drug for another, I called it on one of them. Trading one addiction for another, something like that. And probably, if you go back 2 years, in the first season, I probably did a bunch of that. Kim Roy said that trip to the pen just made me realize when you think something is one way and discover it is not at all what you thought. Well, you know something? When I was in prison, this is something that I did very often. If I talked to somebody on the streets, I would say to them, so if you walked into my cell, it's about 6.5 feet wide. It's 14 feet deep. There are 2 bunks in it. And there is a toilet sink combination that is made of stainless steel, and it's a 1-piece unit. And then there's a desk coming out of the wall that has a little like circular seat that swings in and out. That's what the room looks like. Now, the door does not have bars on it. It is a metal door with a window that's about that tall and about this wide. Because 90% of the people, when they hear prison, start thinking about bars and all of these things. So to loved ones, I always wanted them to know that I'm not looking through any bars. And that used to actually make people feel better. At least when you looked at it, you could almost pretend you're not. Well, you can't, but it's a lot better than bars. This boat is my reality check. I absolutely appreciate all of you. Well, we appreciate you, Dirty Mouse. Russ, good to see you. And you know what, people? This brings us almost to the conclusion of the lifeboat. I'm going to wrap this up, but we really turned this into a journaling session. But let me bring this back to to what we were talking about. You're going to begin to find out why you did drugs, and you are going to be given 2 opportunities. Could someone with a wrench, Kathy Ann, can you put up my email, please, for Kristen Kruger? My name at Gmail. As you start to do this journaling thing, you're going to peel back some dirt on yourself. right? Now, maybe this was caused by somebody else completely. Even if it is, you're going to be given an option to go in two directions. One of those is to blame your drug addiction 100% on mom and dad, ex-husband, whatever the case may be. And it is a very popular way to do this, by the way. The reason it's a popular way to do it is because you're not going to have any guilt if you can blame all this on your ex-wife. You're not going to have any guilt if you can blame all of this on mom and dad, right? Very easy stuff. Well, I preach it a little different. You need to own it. You need to own it. I've sat in this chair and I've come on and said, I said something stupid I shouldn't have. I'm really sorry. The person I said it about's name is this. I apologize to him. I try to make it right. I've done about a half a dozen of those that I can remember. I've probably done a dozen.
You got to own it.
I say sorry when I do something wrong. Sadly. Now, I know all of you do. I know all of you do. All of you do. But for those of us that live in front of a camera, for those of us that do this every single day, how much credibility do you have? How much credibility would I have if I don't come on here and say, you know what? I shouldn't have done this. Okay, well, every time I have come on and said I screwed up, I shouldn't have done this, people say, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. I love that. I also have to own my past the exact same way. Are there people that did me dirty in my past? You betcha. Are there some trauma things from my past that have caused me to go deeper into drug addiction? You betcha. You betcha. That doesn't mean that it's their fault I robbed banks. You know how many times I was in prison and somebody would say, I'd say, what are you in here for? Because my wife told the cops I was doing this, this, and this. My wife dropped a dime on me. So you're in here because your wife called the cops? You're in here because you're a drug dealer, right? You're in here because you were mail ordering tons of weed across the country in TV boxes. That's what you're in here for. I wasn't in there because somebody snitched on me. Somebody snitched on me. But I was in there because I robbed a bunch of banks. You got to own it. And you know something? I had reason to try to kill the pain, and I killed it with heroin. And I had a disease that made it so that when I started doing that stuff, it was going to be impossible to quit. Nevertheless, my fault. It ain't anybody else's. I promise you, 95% of life is what you do with the 5% that sucks. Right? No matter how bad that 5% sucks, you still got to live. You still got to get up every day and go do what you do. So it's not the trauma. It's how we deal with the trauma. It's if we allow the trauma to destroy us, or do we allow the trauma to make us better? All righty. Well, I think that's all I got to say about that. People, I really appreciate you. Spanx Calhoun, thank you so much for letting me come in and hijack your office.
Of course. Of course.
Well, people, there'll be more boat today. There will definitely be more boat today. And we shall see you then. I am the Admiral, and this here is a cat in a basket.
Press the button on the bottom. Oh, I guess you can't. Never mind.
Do 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 do.